call of the directors.
Gorman.
Here.
Kaiser. Here. Maple. Here. Stankowski.
Here.
Kaminsky.
Here.
Bauer.
Here.
Ness.
Here.
Knadler.
Here.
Zebro. Here.
Everybody press buttons. Item number 3, pledge allegiance. If you would please stand. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item number 4, approval of the agenda. Take a look at it. Who made the motion? Motion by Zebro, and a second Kaiser beat you, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
Second by Kaiser. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 5, approval of the minutes of the May 19th, 2026 school board meeting. I looked at them, I didn't see anything that would be totally out of, but
I'll make the motion.
we have a motion by Gorman.
I'll second.
Second by Nest. Any discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 6, special presentation, discussion, school improvement plan review.
I'm going to start, and then I'm going to let each principal talk about their different buildings and their different plans. I'm just going to share with you some raw data that we just got back and compiled from the school year. Now keep in mind that the data that I have up here is taken directly from our testing vendors. Nothing has been filtered through the DPI at this point. So when we get school report cards, if numbers are slightly off from this, it would be had something to do with that. But when we take a look at our standardized test, the parentheses was our percent proficient students last year. The number to the right is percent proficient this school year. So you can see some celebrations and some areas that we need to take a look at and grow. Overall, if we look at the district average in ELA, we went up 2.4%, in math 0.3%. One major celebration that I would share though is that 3rd grade ELA score. It is an area that we put a lot of work into over the last couple of years. The teachers have worked hard in their professional learning and development. Our reading specialist has worked really hard putting good learning in front of our teachers. And what's exciting is that 56 represents the ELA score, so that combines the writing and the reading. And when we take a look at those 6 sub-scores, our reading, the 3 reading ones were actually the 3 highest. So we expect when reading gets pulled out for that 3rd grade number, that number is actually gonna be closer to 60. So that's a really big win for our elementary school, and it goes to show that progression that has been put into place with UFly and the professional learning around it is starting to pay off.
Tom, just a quick reference.
Yep.
Are we measuring 3rd graders and then 4th graders?
Yep.
Okay, just to make sure everybody.
Yeah,
clear.
so-
We're not trying to compare a class to a different class. We're
Well,
trying to track the same
this
class.
is,
Well,
right,
this does, okay.
this is 3rd grade to 3rd grade, so
Okay.
that's always a factor.
Yeah.
But that's a pretty big jump to say it's purely cohort
Okay.
based, right? So that's just something we're really excited about. I wanted to put this in front of you before the principals go into their plans, because they're gonna talk about the things they did in the building that led up to improvement efforts. And so our goal is to continue to improve. We'd love to see a 10% increase over the next 2 to 3 years, and that's what we're shooting for. And so overall, we saw slight increase, but we are excited to see bigger in the future.
So really, like I said, that should all translate back down though too. Like if we were behind in the elementary school 3rd graders, we should have expected a tick down in middle school. Is that correct to some degree?
In theory, it's hard to say pure middle school,
Right,
right? Because
yep.
it's 5 grades.
Because there's more
but
grades
yes.
in it, but really that should tick down, and is our
Yeah,
I
3rd
think-
grade elementary at a 56 this year. That'll hopefully translate into a
Yep.
higher middle school
Right.
next year.
Without a doubt.
Right.
And when we get the full data, we'll be able to break it down by grade level. We'll be
Okay,
able to show
perfect.
you, we'll be able to track improvement of same cohorts of kids, so we'll be able to see how last year's third graders did as this year's fourth graders. Was there improvements, was there not? But this data all just came in last week, and we're not able to bring it down to that level yet, but as we do, those are things that we'll look at to have a better understanding of how we're doing.
Tom, why don't you just update the board on what exactly, you know, it says elementary school, but we don't test the entire elementary school.
Yeah, so that is a little misleading. You don't take a standardized test till third grade. So our elementary school only has one grade level being measured, right? Middle school, all of the grade levels, and then high school does not include seniors. They stop testing at their junior year, so that's freshmen, sophomores, juniors. So when you're looking at what tests they're taking, 3rd through 8th graders are taking the forward test, 9th, 10th, and 11th graders are taking some form of the ACT. 9th and 10th is the pre-ACT, 11th is the full ACT.
Questions?
With that, I'll invite the elementary school up here to talk about it.
So, we had a really good year this year. It was a lot of learning, a lot of fun, including the principal. I learned a lot this year as well. We had 3 main goals for the year: is to increase student engagement, which heard a lot about in the past year, improve literacy achievement, and then strengthen community connections. So we had multiple action plans to try to approve those goals, and one of them was using the eSpark as a learning tool. And if you remember back in the fall, I had showed you guys like a sample of what eSpark was, and in terms of at least the reading side. I didn't show you the math side of it, but just in terms of how it can engage a student, how it can personalize their learning, because you know, they can plug in their name, they're part of the story, they get to pick characters, they get to pick where the story like happens and things like that. So we accomplished that. As you can see, there's a lot of students that were able to use it. Many teachers used it over 2 times a week. And we showed really good growth. Now these scores are from actual eSpark, because eSpark will do assessments as the kids are on it. The target for eSpark is 50% growth, so you can see that, and it's a fall to spring. Those 2 scores that you see there is from fall, comparing fall to spring. So by the time we hit spring, we were above that 50%, and both in math and reading, their growth scores increased. You know, when did we use it and how much? It wasn't a whole lot. This was just a really, really small supplement. So for example, in a win time, a teacher, it's gonna be like a 30-minute session, so then she's gonna have, or she or he may have 3 stations in the room. One of them would be them with a small group with the teacher. One of them, they're gonna assign some type of activity at a station, whatever it might be, whether it's related to reading or math. And then eSpark was an option there. So in a 30-minute session, they might only spend 10 minutes on it. On another day, they might spend 15 minutes on it. So it wasn't a high amount of time, but I think it was a beneficial tool, like I said, to personalize the learning a little bit and to get the students engaged a little bit. And wherever their level was, they were able to excel.
eSparks were only like 15-minute exercises a day,
Yeah,
right?
pretty
It's not
short.
much longer than that,
No,
regardless.
pretty short. Yep. Another action step related to the engagement side of it was, so Seesaw is our learning management system that's primarily used to communicate with parents. What we wanted to do is, it has multiple features, kind of like Canvas is implemented in, I think it's 5 through 12. I know I used it in high school. So Seesaw is at the elementary school, and Canvas is used more as a, you know, as a inter-engagement tool for students. And we wanted to like just, again, just a little bit, just increase that engagement with the students, so it wasn't strictly just a parent communication tool. And we were able to create 291 different student activities in that. And many of the teachers were actually using that to assist them with math testing. So the students could go on there and practice the math test and get some help with that as well. So that was a plus this year. To the literacy side, so I put these two action steps together because they both contributed, I think, just little things that we did to help increase our literacy achievement. And again, I put up there the scores that Tom just referenced with our forward scores and how they increased. One of the things we did was to engage students in what's called high leverage reading strategies. And so we were able to give our teachers some professional development on a couple different occasions on just what are some just small strategies that you can do in the classroom. Either this can be whole group as a whole class or in your smaller reading groups. And these strategies, not only do they have, I have one in my hand right here, not only do they have hard copies of it, and we've created like a library of that, but we also created video like tutorials on it. So we have videos of teachers actually teaching these strategies. So, I mean, sometimes when you look at it on paper, it's like, you know, you don't really understand what to do, but then when you see it on video and you see it in action, it helps them. So we were able to implement a number of these reading strategies throughout the year, which again, I think helped improve our literacy achievement. The second action step there with Project Read, this is more of a teacher side, instructional side thing. Project Read is an AI-based program that allows the teachers to take an assessment, like take a U-Fly assessment, a weekly progress monitoring basically is what it is. And then they can implement this into the program, and the program, you know, will spit you out a report, will tell you where their weaknesses are, will even help you group students into small groups. So really the two worked hand in hand, so they could look at this report and say, okay, we have a weakness in decoding. What are some strategies I can do in small groups or whole group to help with the decoding? And it was just a great tool for the teachers to help them strategize for what to do in the following weeks. Another action step, again on the side of student engagement here, is we wanted the students to use the Fab Lab as a resource. And that was done. We had a whole lot of projects here. What you're looking at here is 3D puzzle pieces that a class created. So each one made an individual piece and then they put it together. This is actually displayed in the school right outside the IMC there. Between the technology classes and the STEAM class and art classes, they did a whole number of projects. Just to name a few, they made some keychains, they made fridge magnets, they made ornaments. I'm gonna pass a couple around here. This is a Christmas one. They did some laser engraving. Here's one of the puzzle pieces. So we were able to utilize the Fab Lab and just let kids be creative and just give them a little introduction into what 3D printing and laser engraving is all about. So that was great to see. And then we had multiple action steps related to community connections and partnerships. We had grade level events, we had school-wide events, we had classrooms go out on field trips, we had people from the community come in for different projects and such. What I want to highlight here, one of the things is with junior achievement. And I put this in the school board report. I don't know if you got to look at it, but we were presented this, we were presented as a super school for junior achievement, which is pretty big because it was only one of 6 schools in the whole state. So we're really proud of that. What that means is 100% of our students received J8 programming. That means every student, every classroom participated in this. And normally when you go to a school, you know, you might have 5 classrooms do it and, or 10 or whatnot. We had every single classroom in our school, do that, so we were pretty proud of that.
How many different, like, community volunteers led that and volunteered?
Well, I'm thinking, well, if you do the math with all the classrooms, it had to be upwards of 36 to 40, and I'm
Okay.
assuming some use multiple.
Okay.
Cause I
Instead of
did-
just one, you know,
I
they would
split
like
with someone.
team it with
Yeah.
somebody else, just
Yep,
because they
okay.
couldn't make every day.
Mhm.
So, quite a few, I don't know the exact number, but.
It's a very, I've done junior achievement everywhere I've been. It's a very labor and it takes a lot of people to do it.
Mhm.
Because you're asking a volunteer from the business community or your community, it doesn't have to be a business person per se that comes in and teaches a lesson, so some double up. But occasionally you might get a volunteer that's willing to do 2 classes if they're back to back, you know, or something
Mhm.
like that. They'll stay for 2 hours versus 1 hour, but yeah, it's very labor intensive, and it's a big commitment out of the people that do it.
So not only is it a testament to the teachers and the staff, but it's a testament to the community members,
Mhm.
that's
Right.
awesome. Yeah. Some of the other things in the pictures you see up there, we did that, and we talked about it this fall too, the Freedom Walk. We did a family night in the springtime. In the fall, the picture at the right, that's at the school for us. The 3rd grade did a family night out there one night. Classes went to apple orchards, pumpkin patches, the fire station. We brought, community members in, parents, grandparents, in for different activities within the school. The one on the bottom left there is one of my favorites, is the teddy bear clinic, where we have, community members come in and basically work on teddy bears like they have some kind of ailment, broken arm or whatever, so that was pretty cool with the kindergartners.
You're
Field
been a
trips.
teddy bear here.
We went to the 1st graders went to the planetarium at UWSP, so I mean, between getting out of our school into the community and having community come in, I think our staff, did a great job with that this year, and we created a lot of cool partnerships, hoping to continue that, next year and in the future. So, as you can see, we delivered a lot of measurable gains, for engagement, literacy, innovation. And again, it comes down to the dedication of our staff, our students, and the community partners that helped us out with all of this. So I think we accomplished quite a bit this year. In the future, we look to, again, like I just said, continue community partnerships. I think we can do an even better job with student engagement. We want to strengthen that. So those are 2 of the things as we look forward to the fall, things we're going to think about improving for next year.
If
That's
you
where
wanna
we're
see the
kinda
new
headed.
sign, that's the new sign.
Yeah,
That's pretty
it's
cool.
the new sign, looks really awesome. And it's gonna light up too, once we get power hooked up to it, it's gonna be pretty cool at night. Any questions?
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah.
On the math scores, is there a way, when you said it can pinpoint, something that, could it be maybe the student not understanding the question? So like with higher reading scores, you could see the math scores climb.
So, is it gonna tell you if the students, you know, understand the question or not? Yeah, it's not gonna be able
It's
to
not
tell you
gonna be
that.
able to, okay.
No. I mean, that could be one of your assumptions. Yeah, I always personally, as a teacher, what I would do just on my own test is I would do a little data analysis and I would look at like, okay, what did the students get right, what did they get wrong? And then if I had a whole bunch of students get a question wrong, I would go back to that question so was it something I taught, how I taught it? Was it, how are they reading it? Maybe
Right.
there's maybe they read the question wrong, something like that, but a lot of the tests, like standardized tests, don't give us that information.
Got it, okay.
Thank you, Tom.
Yep.
While I pull up the middle school one cool thing about the junior achievement was when Michelle Klein and Dana Ware were our 2 community reps that helped organize that in our elementary school. And when we were just a couple classrooms short of being able to fulfill every classroom getting one, we had some high school kids volunteer that were taking business classes. And so we had some high school kids go down there until we could find some additional community volunteers. So just a kind of a cool add-on to what made that super school achievement happen. Kate is on the beach somewhere, so she has a video here for you on the middle school.
Good evening. I apologize for not being able to join you in person tonight, but I am excited for the opportunity to just kind of reflect on our continuous improvement plan from the 25-26 school year at the middle school. So when we look back to the goals that we set as a building in the fall, we had 3 goals. One was around asking staff to make sure that they were implementing tasks that provided student voice and choice, giving students the opportunity to choose how they would demonstrate proficiency. Asking staff to implement at least 2 research-based engagement strategies each semester with a goal of increasing overall student engagement. We measured student engagement with an engagement survey. We gave students the opportunity to kind of give teachers feedback on how they were feeling in classes, how they defined engagement, and then teachers were able to compare their scores over the course of the year. Students did that 3 separate times. And that last goal that the middle school set was focused on staff collaboration and growing from within. So connecting our staff through community circles and asking them to complete peer observations. So as we sat down to reflect on how we did on our 3 goals, one thing that really stood out was this idea of moderation. So we had lots of conversations around what engagement strategies did we use, how did we complete those observations, how were they offered the opportunity to have voice and choice in demonstrating their understanding. And the conversation often came back to, it's all about the balance. So we know that if we do anything the same way all of the time, it's not going to keep kids engaged. And so making sure that we were finding that balance, whether it was the use of technology, the use of paper pencil, the use of hands-on projects, the use of simulations, or creating models, knowing that in order to truly dig into student engagement, we needed to make sure that we were using those things in moderation and definitely providing that balance for our students. One of the things that stood out to us the most was, as connected to those goals, in terms of an instructional shift, was the amount of increase we saw in those student-centered learning opportunities. The examples are listed on the slide, and that is honestly only half of the list, but so many really, really neat things happening within our classrooms in the middle school in terms of how students were showing that they were proficient in the information they were being taught. And asked to show their understanding. So whether they were demonstration speeches or building some of those 3D models, or creating things through technology and using some technology tool to demonstrate that understanding by creating more than just a slideshow. So really leaning into some of those tools that are new and allow students to explore some of those options as well. But definitely a shift in terms of how we saw students engage. Another powerful piece in conversations with teachers at the end of the school year was, from their perspective, they noticed when students were given the opportunity to choose how to demonstrate their understanding, they were often more engaged. Because they were excited about whatever it was that they were going to show or create or present in order to show and prove that they had mastered that content. I had mentioned that the middle school used an engagement survey. So this data is for our entire staff. Now, with that said, you can see we gave it 3 times. And I think my camera's in the way, so maybe I'll move it up here. At the end of quarter 2, because we needed quarter 1 to actually get to know our kids and for them to, we couldn't give it to them right out of the gate because we wouldn't have had anything to gather feedback on. But at the end of each quarter, teachers gave this survey out to students. It was a 10-question survey, and they were asked to rank various things. And then each question would average on a scale of 1 to 10. Now, as a staff, there's a lot of in between. But as a staff overall, from quarter 2 to quarter 4, we grew from an 8.4 average to just about a 9.5 average. And again, it's a scale of 1 to 10. So the starting bar was pretty high already, which was a really neat observation in the beginning. But those conversations were really powerful. Teachers were able to dial into their own personal feedback within each question and really see what kids were thinking or how they were feeling in terms of what engagement looked like in their classrooms. And it drove some really powerful conversations with staff as well, in terms of if kids were feeling, and the data showed that they were feeling like they weren't able to ask questions in class, or they weren't provided opportunities for voice and choice. It was a great opportunity to be reflective and lean into some of those building goals and revisit what we were focused on as a building. Another area that was really cool, when you look at that third goal, focused on building those peer interactions and that peer collaboration. Our community circles were random groups of staff. So people maybe that would never necessarily cross paths in our building because it's really easy to get stuck in your hallway or in your grade level. So we created random groups of staff, and they would meet at least once a month, right before our staff meeting, and have some professional reflective conversations, and then bring those conversations into our staff meeting. So the community circles, I think, open doors for a lot of people in a lot of ways, not only making more positive connections within our building itself, but also sharing things, cross-content areas that maybe people wouldn't have thought of. So something that was really cool in a science classroom, and then reimagining how that might look in a math classroom. Also, that goal was, we had asked staff to complete at least 2 peer observations. And I would say for the most part, every single one of our staff were able to get into a classroom and observe a colleague, even if it was just for a couple of minutes during a prep, or maybe even very quickly in passing. But having the opportunity to just watch someone do what they do, and have a couple of takeaways in terms of how they could then steal some of those things and bring them back to their classroom and adapt them for their own content area or own classroom. Again, a time of reflection, and we think about areas at the end of a year. You think about all the things that went great, and you also think of areas where you can continue to grow. So if I bring this to a close and I look at how the middle school, I'll share a glow and a grow. I kind of leaned into the Danielson framework, which provides those 4 domains where we help to reflect as a teaching staff how we're meeting the needs of students from a teaching and learning perspective. Domain 2B was something we had talked about a lot as an admin team, and it focuses on school culture, and that is something that I would identify as a glow for our building. So many positive relationships, a shared holding kids accountable, so holding them to high expectations, and everybody across the board was pretty good about leaning into that as well. And really modeling that growth mindset. So knowing that culture, every interaction and that school culture impacts every corner of our building and how important that is, that was really important for us to lean into and continue to build that positive school culture, and definitely an area that we're pretty proud of. As I think ahead in an area where we can continue to grow, it would be in the area of assessments. And a lot of those conversations have already started. So maybe a little bit of foreshadowing for some of our goals next year. But definitely looking at mastering an understanding of what those formative assessment practices are, what feedback looks like, what it sounds like, how do we ask students to be part of that process? And then, of course, how do we use data to drive our instruction at the end of the day, and how do we lean into those professional learning communities to make sure that we're using that data to make decisions about what happens tomorrow in our classroom. So looking ahead, I guess to next year, it is definitely an area that I want to continue to lean into is that assessment and ownership, and how do we get kids to be part of that reflective process, and to be part of that learning where they are aware of those learning outcomes and where they're at in their journey, and then also continue to extend those collaborative learning opportunities for kids. with obviously an increase on rigor and making sure that we're implementing curriculum appropriately and we're providing the right training for staff. So lots of really great things coming. Definitely a great 25-26 school year with really, really, really powerful moments. Thanks for your time. Have a wonderful evening.
I thought we'd get some pictures of the beach.
I'll have high school come up. Diane, one thing to answer your question though about math. So just so everybody's aware, when they take the forward test, text to speech is an available accommodation to all students. You don't have to have special accommodations. So any student can have a question read to them on any part of the test except the reading part. So for math, all the questions can be read to kids on the forward test. Now, on a classroom assessment, that's not always the case, but when Tom mentioned Seesaw, when I talk to the teachers who use Seesaw for math, it's actually so they can record themselves reading the test, and students can listen to it while they're taking it, so that way reading's taken as a daily reference. There we go.
So, a couple things before I get into the high school. I think you're hearing some through lines, right? So we're talking about student engagement across all three buildings, and I'll explain what that looks like here at the high school. We're talking about relationships and how we collaborate with staff in all three buildings. And I think that connectedness across the entire district is really powerful. So when we get to the high school level, there isn't anything crazy new, right, that kids are going to be experiencing. It's building off of what they've had at the elementary, middle, and coming to us. So there should be some connectivity that you're seeing. And I think for the high school level, we really lead into some of the work that Liftoffs had brought to us at the end of last year and into this year. And one of those key pieces is really thinking about how does school impact me, what are the connections to the authentic world. And Kate had alluded to us doing these engagement surveys, and we continued that at the high school. And the area of growth that we had over the year and we saw the greatest impact was that connectivity to authentic, real work. So we had a 9% growth, which just fell short of our 10% benchmark that we wanted to hit. But when we were intentional in our classrooms about connecting what kids were doing in the classroom to the real world, they were in it, right? That for us was the highest leverage engagement strategy in the building. Kids want to know, why does this thing matter? Why am I going to struggle through this math concept and work to get it? Well, it's because it really does matter in this next level. So our focus around authentic work, thinking about engagement from that lens of our kids are anywhere from 4 years to 4 months away from being in the real world. That for them was really impactful. So the work that you heard Liftoffs talk about last week and how we really need to be rethinking about that connection to academic and career planning, thinking about the skills that kids are building here and what that means at the next step for them is really important. And we brought that to life as we went through the school year. So a couple pieces that I just wanted to highlight for you was, right, that engagement piece around when it's authentic, kids are working, they're showing resiliency, they're buying into why they need to really be thinking about it. Kids also were more involved with each other as they would go through that process. And through the surveys that we were able to get from students, we had over 3,500 surveys over the course of the year from our student lab. There was this increased definition about kids being pushed in a way that they hadn't been before. And again, when we think about the Liftoffs work and what we're finding through that research, it is about kids showing resiliency, so when they do leave us, they're ready for that next level, right? So it was interesting to be here Thursday and just listen to what Jen had to say through her doctoral research and understanding what we were beginning to do here and what we'll continue to build on going into next year. And I think I can maybe focus in on this one. So that student-centered experience was one of those successes that we really are kind of hanging our hats on and what we're building on. So the academic and career planning team, we've already met this summer to continue to think about how do we have kids get out into the community, how do we help kids understand the pathways that we have available here, because they want to know that. We also know that as the work continues to evolve for that ACP team and that for selection night, how do we help parents understand the opportunities that they also have here as well? So pillar one around the student-centered experience, we know when we connect it to the authentic work, kids are buying into it. Pillar two around that collaboration and community piece, continuing to bring in folks from the outside before they get to a senior portfolio. So that is one of those goals that we're looking at for next year. Instructional excellence, so we kind of took the district goal around showing a 10% growth in terms of proficiency. We didn't hit that target, but we made growth. And I think looking forward and now having a year under my belt here, I think it's important for us to look at the high school level, our cohorts of kids. Because as students came in as freshmen and I could watch their growth from their pre-ACT as freshmen to what they scored as juniors, it was pretty incredible some of the gains our kids made. But the way that we looked at growth for this year didn't quite reflect that. So refocusing, I think, on how our students are going through our work because we're evolving as a building is really important. So that, I think, is going to take some massaging a little bit for next year. And then pillar four was all around professional growth and leadership. If you would have been in the building today at around 11 o'clock, we had 14 teachers here who were already thinking about how do we continue to build a culture at Mosinee High School that we're all proud of. And it's because we began to look at restructuring how we function as a team of professionals in the building, where we need to begin focusing some of our work. And they were in it already today. So I think going through and thinking about this reflection process with the building leadership team, being able to identify some of the successes we had, I think is important, but like we are ready for next year. Like we know where we want to go. I think the vision of what we want to do is a little bit more clear. And I think it's a credit to, as an entire admin team, we've had a chance to talk about who we want to be and aligning all of that work to the end goal. So I think looking ahead, this was a great year just to see where does the work need to focus, and now being much more clear and intentional about what that will be next year.
Questions?
Not a question, just a comment, but I would just say all three presentations were good. You guys were all new at this, and obviously self-reflection is hard. I think you guys did a great job of identifying what worked, what didn't, and how to make it better, which is pretty much all we could ask for that first year, so I thought it was a good job.
That's how we get better. That's how we get better. Anything else? Okay, we will move on. Item 7, public forum. The public forum provides the public with the opportunity to ask questions about or address issues included on the board agenda and not in the agenda or general operating rules. Shall be determined by me. Do we have anybody? Nobody wants to talk to me. Item number 8, consent agenda. Did anything need to be pulled out? I just want to make you aware of one thing with our personnel thing. We were talking about making sure everybody was aware of that. Donna, do you want to tell them, or?
No, go ahead.
It was just that there are some changes to the handbook and things that we want to make sure that you look at. Greg is going to be telling everybody, but we want you to look at that so you know. There were no major changes, but we want everybody to be aware of it. Nothing that we saw that was going to be an issue, but we want you to all be aware of it too.
Two things. One is, it wasn't in this. I was telling the personnel committee, I got Deola's employee handbook update yesterday, and a lot of our handbook is formatted around Neola's. So I spent time today, and it obviously didn't get in the board packet. You'll see it next month. But the only really changes Unfortunately, the changes required me to redo the entire table of contents, but the only required changes really were, they added some language around Act 57 and Act 89 or 87, 59, which is what you'll see later in the meeting around the grooming and appropriate PCD, personal communication device communication with kids. They added some language in the employee handbook about that in like 2 or 3 places. That'll be highlighted next month when it goes before formal approval. And then the second thing that the Personnel Committee's been talking about the last couple months is a move towards paid time off from a sick leave concept. It's kind of something that's been, the staff have been asking for my entire tenure here, and I think longer than me. So the thought of the committee was we'll recommend that it goes in the handbook to pilot it for 1 year just to see how it goes. And a move to a PTO concept away from a sick leave, personal leave concept.
And you can see all that in our agenda, but I want to give you a heads up. We thought there was no problems, everything good, but you should all be aware of them. Okay?
And that change does not cost anything additional.
Yep.
That we know.
Be clear on that.
Yep.
Okay, I will take a motion to accept the consent agenda.
I'll make the motion.
I have a motion by Gorman,
I'll second.
a second by, was that Zebro?
Me.
Oh, Stankowski. Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 9, discussion possible decision approval of monthly voucher list.
I will make a motion to approve.
A
I'll
motion by
second.
Ness to approve, second by Gorman. Any discussion? Roll call. I'm sorry, Jackie, I know go fast.
We'll start with Novinsky.
Yes.
Bauer.
Yes.
Nest.
Yes.
Zebro.
Yes.
Sorry, Knadler.
Yes.
Gorman.
Yes.
Kaiser.
Yes.
Maple.
Yes.
Stankowski.
Yes.
Motion carries. Item number 10, discussion possible decision, acceptance of monthly treasurer's report.
Make a motion to approve.
We have a motion by Ness,
I'll second.
second by Gorman. Any discussion? Anybody need to abstain from anything? Okay. Roll call
Bauer.
Yes.
Nest.
Yes.
Knadler.
vote? Yes.
Zebro.
Yes.
Gorman.
Yes.
Kaiser.
Yes.
Maple.
Yes.
Stankowski.
Yes.
Novinsky.
Yes. Motion carries. Item number 11, new business, discussion possible decision, budget transfer to zero out account.
This is just an annual thing that the board does every year in June. There's certain accounts that we start, just so you know, our fiscal year is July 1 to June 30. So we're running up to the end of our fiscal year. There are certain accounts that cannot carry a balance from one year to the next. Major one you can think of is Fund 27. So we have to make a budget transfer from Fund 10 to Fund 27, which we have budgeted, but you have to make the transfer. So Fund 27 is zero at the end of the year because you can't have money in it. And then, so this just gives Rod the authority to do what we legally have to do anyway, but we would just like your authority to zero out those budget transfers. Like I said, the major one is Fund 27, which is why you hear all the conversation about increasing the sped reimbursement rate.
Make the motion to make the budget transfers to zero at the accounts.
Motion by Bauer,
I'll second.
second by Kaiser. It's a little faster.
Sorry.
Any more discussion?
I just want to clarify that Fund 27 is special education, then Fund 10 is the general fund, just
Correct.
so those individuals know that.
Yeah, thank you. So that's why, like I said, you hear all this conversation, because if they increase the sped reimbursement rate in Fund 27, that means the transfer we have to make at the end of the year is less, which gives us more budget flexibility if we can keep the money in Fund 10, because that gives us more flexibility of spending the resources and other such things.
Any more questions or discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Item B, discussion possible decision, WIAA membership.
Annual one again, we have to formally approve our desire to stay in the WIA. Highly recommend we do it, because it's the only game in town in terms of athletics in the state of Wisconsin, but I need your formal blessing for us to sign the contract, or the membership form.
I make the motion to, hang on, what's the right words, to renew our WIA membership.
Motion by Bauer, second by Zebro. Any discussions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item C, discussion possible decision 66.0301 contract with Stratford for occupational therapy services.
Yeah, this is a 660301 agreement, which is an intergovernmental agency agreement, which means it's an agreement between two governmental entities, whether that be two public schools, two governmental other entities. But in this case, we were getting our occupational therapy from CISA. The individual that we were using through CISA is no longer staying with CISA, so CISA really doesn't have anybody to offer. We stumbled upon the fact that Stratford was sharing their OT with somebody that was like 75 or 80 miles away. The individual didn't want to drive 80 miles away anymore, and so we struck up a conversation with Stratford and came to an agreement with them where we're gonna basically pay 3 days and they're gonna pay 2 days, which meets our needs and is equivalent to what we were doing with CISA anyway. So we are recommending going through the agreement with Stratford.
About the same cost.
Yep.
If those needs change, does that just pivot as we go?
Yeah, we would pivot some of that as we go. Yep. But I don't envision, that's usually pretty
Is it set?
sustained.
It doesn't change a
Yeah,
whole lot.
if it changes anywhere, it changes up. It usually doesn't change down.
Okay.
Any more discussion?
For a 1 year?
Yep, yep. It's an annual agreement.
I'll make the motion to approve.
We have a motion by Gorman, second by Kaiser. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item D, discussion possible decision 26-27 preliminary budget.
And Rod is on the hot seat for the final time as a member of the Mosinee School District.
I miss you.
So this is just a preliminary budget. This is the first budget you'll see, but you'll see a budget in August for the September annual meeting
And the October formal agreement.
and the October levy budget. So this is just to give us authority to spend money in 26-27 school year. That's what you're approving in essence, but if you go to the first page, or second page then. Okay, so here's some of the budget notes. The state budget, we're in the second year, next year is the second year of the state budget, so we know right now it's 325. Revenue limit increase per student. There is the increase in special ed categorical aid. They build that off from old data and there's inflation, so it's hard to say. I was kind of use a conservative amount. And we still have declining enrollment. Looking at a 3-year average, maybe in the ballpark of 55 less students. So, and that is not gonna go away anytime soon, but it's a 3-year average. Budget knowns, you know, we have the health insurance renewal, the Lamers contract, the CISA for health and deaf and hard of hearing and PT. We just approved the OT from Stratford. Estimates, well, we're thinking less Medicaid revenue in special ed next year. We won't obviously know all of the new hires, health insurance at this point. At the beginning, it seems pretty good that some are gonna be single or cash in lieu budget-wise, you know, that's much cheaper than family. Open enrollment in and out. This year we had a very positive number but we did lose a few senior advantage and we do have more open enrolling out at this time, but we won't know until the first day of school who's actually going to what school. And there was always the state surplus. You never know if that might pop up again, probably not till after the election though. And then who knows if they'll still have a state surplus by then. But they almost had a state surplus and they almost gave us more special ed money and state aid money. At this time, we wouldn't know any tax levy, we wouldn't have any idea. July 1st, we get a state aid estimate, that's by statute, but it isn't necessarily very accurate because if Milwaukee doesn't turn in accurate numbers, nobody in the state is gonna have accurate numbers because they're that big. and they didn't have their numbers in last year, so I wouldn't assume they'll be in this year, you know? But besides that, we wouldn't know exactly where we're gonna land on energy efficient exemption, but we'd be close, and we wouldn't know the valuation of the property for the tax rate or the exact amount of voucher cost at this time. But hopefully our levy in dollars will be close to what it is this year. And maybe the tax rate will even be lower depending on the valuation increase. But if you go, go to the top.
Rob, can I just interrupt 1 second?
Sure.
Let's just start laying some conversation now. We don't control when municipalities reassess property, which can greatly impact taxes on various municipalities, because then the parts of the formula get changed, or the.
Yeah, the state has, if you increase by so much, you have to have a revaluation, and with the way inflation has been, that's been happening more and more often at the township level. I don't remember if it's 15% increase, and the state hasn't, they call it equalized valuation, because they don't go what's on the tax roll. If it hasn't been reevaluated in a while, they bump up the valuation that they're using for the taxes, but still, you usually get a bump when a township does their valuations over.
Which then typically means those taxes are gonna go up a larger amount than what they normally would have. And it's not the responsibility of the taxing entities per se, it's a response to the fact that a big reevaluation occurred, which then divided the deck chairs on the Titanic, so to speak.
Do we have a list of what townships might be in the process, or could we don't look at?
But you'll note, general fund, Fund 10, we are gonna be balanced next year, maybe a small surplus at this point in time. We'll have better numbers in August, as we get final through this year. Food service, we're not final this year by any means, if you go down to Fund 50. But, because we might make a lot of money on the summer food program, because we get more money from the feds for the reimbursable meals than we get from a student that pays, and then the lesser federal aid. So the school districts that have higher free reduced actually have better Fund 50 fund balances. And so maybe, since we got the summer food program to be free, so we're getting that higher reimbursement rate, and we're doing breakfasts and lunch, maybe we'll make a good chunk of change. We'll have to see though. And next school year, we'll have to take the food service management contract to bid. We know that now, for the 27-28 school year.
So in other words, you really want kids to come and eat this summer?
Sure.
Yeah, okay.
Send your kids across the street, Megan.
I told them, go
Oh,
every
you
day,
put
it's
out-
free.
yeah, you put out some information on
I
that.
did, it's free.
And then community service fund at the bottom there. So that's kind of an up in the air a little bit. We haven't received the bill for equipment from the city for the SROs. So I included it in the 26-27 budget at this time. If we got the bill tomorrow, it would be in this year's budget, but without a bill, it's hard to say exactly what it would be. I really couldn't necessarily set it up in this year.
I wanna be clear on this, from the 25 expenditures to the 26-27, a lot of that is the SRO expenditures, correct?
Basically, it's all SRO, because I'm just
I want you
assuming
to know the expense on that. It's
all
a
the
lot.
other costs that are in Fund 80, like pool or middle school athletics, we're just tacking on normal inflation. And so the rest is, so this year for the SRO, beginning of the year was just one officer. And then we built up to 2 in January or whenever that was, and then it wasn't until the end we had 3 officers. But if you have 3 officers all year long, and the city isn't borrowing them too often, and they're actually in our buildings and we're getting charged, that's what I budgeted for. So, and I put a note on the bottom, you know, if that's assuming the same Fund 80 levy in dollars, the 750,000 of levy. Now, you've got plenty of time, and it's in October that you decide the levy for Fund 80 and your SRO plans, I guess, going forward.
But the thing to keep in mind is that we've got a fund balance of about 710, which gives
Buys
us
you
about
some time
buys
now.
us 2 years before we've entirely depleted that, or have to bump up our fund levy 50% to cover if we were doing 3 SROs.
Any questions? All right.
Discuss a possible decision. Anybody want
I
to?
do actually have a question.
Go
In
ahead.
terms of the SROs, we haven't got the equipment bill, but have we done an audit of what the city has charged us since the SROs have been pulled very routinely for city duty?
We have done the best we can. Jess, I would say we've questioned some things. The issue with it is we got the, July to December bill in mid-April? Late April, which makes it hard to audit. So part of the contract negotiations are going to be more frequent, like we are asking for like a schedule that we can actually look at and have a physical copy of, to try to better keep a handle on that, because I would say there's sometimes, well, there's a lot of days I didn't know how many we had in, and there's some days I don't know if the principals knew if they were in or not.
And who with the city is responsible for sending the school district the bill?
I don't know who does it at the city.
We get it from Bruce Jamrose, and I think Gates is CC'd on the same email, but, so I assume they work together, but they get their information from the chief of police, I assume.
Well, there's the other person, I don't remember the name of the person that's also included in on the payroll specialist. There's another individual down there, I don't remember her name off the top of my head. That's included on that email too, Rod. I wanna say it starts with a J or an M, but I could be completely wrong with that statement.
Can we backtrack a little bit? I know I wasn't here, probably a lot of you weren't here, a lot of us weren't here when we decided to have 3 SROs. My understanding is it's always kind of been like, this is in the budget. Can you just explain that? Is it in our budget?
Well, so Fund
Do you know
80
what I
is
mean?
okay, so I think the backup, the thing you have to understand is what Fund 80. Fund 80 is community service. So you as a board basically determine the amount of that levy. The amount of that levy is passed on directly to the taxpayers. It's not aidable, it doesn't go through state aid, it doesn't go through equalization aid. It's basically, in this case, you said, we're gonna charge you taxpayers $750,000 extra for this community service fund, of which the largest expenditures is the SRO program. So when you go to 3 SROs, yes, it could be in the budget, it's just a matter of, and I can't privy to the conversations that were before that. It could be in the budget, it's just a matter of you have to continue to inch up that levy amount, which means you're continuing to pass that increase on to the taxpayers. And we've been pretty reluctant to wanna do that, considering we had a referendum that just passed, plus we also had the increase in taxes last year because of the lack of state aid from the state, so we've been very reluctant to want to jack that up at the same time. It's like a double whammy. But at some point, part of the reason I wanted Rod to talk about that tonight is at some point, the board's gonna have to make a decision regarding, do we wanna continue to go down the road we are with Fund 80 with the expenditures we have, which means we're gonna have to increase the Fund 80 levy to pay for it, because we're gonna run out of money. Because the surplus, or you have 2 options with that. You can either say we're gonna continue on this path, we're gonna increase the Fund 80 levy, or we're gonna take money out of Fund 10 to pay for it, all right? which is the money you use for classrooms type stuff and operations of the district, or you're gonna have to decrease your Fund 80 expenditures, or a combination of the two. I mean, it's like everything else, you gotta meet your budget, so you either decrease expenses or increase revenue. Your revenue is the levy, your expenses are your expenses. And that's a decision that this board's gonna have to make in the next couple of years. Because we have enough to be good for 2 years, and then we're gonna have to make a decision. Yep.
So on an annual basis, what are we budgeted for coming into fund levy?
To Fund 80,
Yeah, yes. fund-
750,000, or 762?
You talking the levy?
Yes, the Fund 80 levy,
750,000 is what our levy was
last
the
year.
year before this year.
So that's gonna be the consistent number.
That's the
that
amount
is-
I used in 26, 27.
Right, and that's determined by you guys, so that's just what we put on there as a placeholder, but you guys ultimately will determine the Fund 80 levy when you make the motion in October.
I just wanted you all to understand that the SRO officers are extremely expensive. Not only is it salary, there's a lot of equipment that has gone into this. And that's why we're kind of looking at all this contract.
Right, and
There's gonna be a problem in about at least a year.
the equipment is an expenditure that the district agreed to in the contract, so that's
And more of a one-time.
correct. It's a one-time deal.
And that is showing up in our 2026, 2027
Correct.
budget, correct? Because we haven't actually.
And that's
gotten
part of
invoice
why
yet.
25, 26 came in under budget.
Yep.
It was in the 25, 26 budget, thinking we were gonna get budgeted, billed for it this fiscal year, but now we don't think we are, so we're dragging that expenditure into next fiscal year.
Yep.
You know, and I understand it might be confusing, and I'm probably not doing a great job explaining it, because it's one of those things you live, that's hard to explain to people. But, the bottom line is we might have a tough decision in front of us in the next couple of years.
So we have 750 that comes in yearly with taxes as they are. At some point, we built the surplus in there for a number of reasons. And year after next, basically, the surplus is gone unless
If we do not.
we either have to cut something or
Increase the
charge.
levy.
Increase the levy.
Yep.
Yep.
Or increase it slowly and buy yourself 4
Right.
years and don't do it all in one shot and try to
Or
resolve.
cut
issues.
services.
Right.
Right, I mean, there's
A lot of
options.
different
My,
ways.
if it were my recommendation and the desire was to stay how we are with an expenditure side, I would recommend you gradually build it instead of saying we're going from 750 to 1.1 million, and I'm not just
Yeah.
throwing numbers out, all right? Just understand that, this isn't me foreshadowing what the
Right.
recommendation's gonna be, but I'm saying you wanna be careful playing yo-yo
Yeah.
with the levy.
That expenditure reflects 3 SRO officers. Let's say one quits to go to a different town and it takes them half a year to replace them, then you're also gonna come in under that expenditure level.
Yeah, part of the other reason we came in besides the equipment is obviously we budgeted for 3 and part of the year we didn't have any.
Never got
And then we had, I would say on average, 1.25 to 1.5 all year.
Just getting information so everybody understands.
And
what's going on.
the city sets the salary for the SROs.
Correct, we just get, it's a pass-through.
Yep.
They set the salary and bill us.
And whatever percentage they're in. that
And we
percentage.
don't get, and we don't get to pay the salary of the 3 lowest officers. We get to pay the salary of the 3 that are in our building, which are 3 of the more veteran officers.
And obviously, SROs have to be employed through the city.
Correct, they cannot be our employees. Just for liability reasons and other such things, I wouldn't want them to be.
For police officers, but you can do, security is different than, that's a whole other
They have
discussion.
Right, right.
There are
different
different.
training.
Right, but I would, if you wanna go the SRO road, I would highly, highly recommend you employ them through a law
right.
enforcement
Yes.
agency. And I don't even know if I would go with the security route if you're looking at it. The reason I would go with an SRO is they actually have the legal ability to write checks and do other, not write checks, I'm sorry, write tickets, which requires a check.
Whatever, right?
I
Yeah.
think that is gonna have to be, agenda item that we spend some time talking about. I'll take a motion to accept the preliminary budget.
I'll make a motion to accept. the
Motion by Nest,
I'll second.
second by Bauer. Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item E, discussion, preliminary board meeting dates, 2026-27. There were a few board members that wanted to talk about that.
Yeah, I'm just presenting the information and then I'm gonna step out of this conversation because this is your meetings, not mine. I just attend when you tell me to. as per my job description. But there was a discussion to see Monday dates versus Tuesday dates, so I took the one document is all the corresponding dates to the way the schedule was this year. And that's the third Tuesday of the month, with the exception of a handful of times where we go on a Monday, whether it becomes the state convention or we moved October back because of the levy, and there's a couple oddities like that in there, but that's that. Then what I did is I did a Monday one, which would have been the third Monday of the month, because sometimes the third Tuesday is the 15th, so the third Monday then becomes the 21st. All right, so that's why there's dates that it's not like we go 15, 16 all the time, or 13, 14, just because that's how the calendar rolls. So I have a Monday and a Tuesday. The purpose of tonight is not to make a decision on Mondays or Tuesdays. The purpose of tonight is to give you the preliminary calendar to see if there's any conflicts in here that we want to make a recommended change to the calendar, the dates, before I bring them to you next month for formal approval. And that point, you can have the discussion unless you want to now. I'm not telling you what to do, but I'm saying we're not making a decision tonight on Monday or Tuesday. This is only a discussion topic tonight.
This was my request. I felt like there was less events on a Monday versus a Tuesday. There's no night except for Wednesdays, and rightfully so, that are free from events at the school, right? That Wednesdays are for religion, so, and our house supported that. I wouldn't ask anybody else not to either. But I felt like for the administrative team and for the amount of events that are constantly seem to be going on, whereas Mondays will never be free from them, it felt like there would be less of them. That's my entire soapbox speech.
I suggested that a few years ago, just because it's nice to have all the administrators here, as many as we can, to ask questions, get information. And sometimes, I think there was one Tuesday, they all were gone because we had like 5 events. That was just my input, that Mondays to me seem less stressful with administration requirements than Tuesdays.
Can we go back to, is there any days you want to change on the calendar? I'm not asking Monday, Tuesday, I'm asking third. Is there a third Tuesday or third Monday you want to move to the 4th, or want to move to the 2nd, or whatever? That's the first question. You know me, I like to try to chunk decisions into smaller questions. Makes life easier in my brain.
I think the third Monday or Tuesday is adequate for me.
Or there's one off. I know, Jessica, you asked to move October back to the 4th, which Tuesday, which worked great, so that's reflected in here as well. The one Monday in January, that's a Monday instead of a Tuesday, is the annual one that we have because of the state convention. And then we always have the Monday reorg meeting. The Tuesday, September 15th, September meeting is set in stone because that's the annual meeting. You set the date the previous year, so that is set in stone. And then the rest of them are up for grabs, I guess you could say.
Do you feel like the dates line up with the budgeting side of that, as far as the setting the levy and everything? That was kind of
Anytime in October is fine for setting the levy, because I think we got into a few days into November to get it to the townships.
Right.
Yeah.
I knew we had some conflicts.
The
last year.
later, I think the later is better because you get more
Yep.
information. I'm not saying this year, but I don't know, Rod, you've been in it longer than I have, but I remember, I thought I told you the story of, it was when Scott Walker was the governor, I remember that, because he was the one that had to sign the budget, and he didn't sign the budget until late October, and everybody was worried. They had to have a special meeting to reset the levy, because
I think the 4th week, whether it's Monday or Tuesday, should be fine in October.
Okay. So as long as we're hitting the 4th.
yeah, my long story is,
Okay,
yes,
yeah.
the 4th week is
Okay,
better
so
than
we're
the
good.
third.
That we got it covered.
The only thing I wanna bring up is, I understand there's things that go on Tuesday, there's still, events that go on Mondays. This is a meeting of the board, okay, so this is always set in stone that the meetings are always on Tuesdays. When you run for the board, you know the meetings are on Tuesday. I just don't wanna see ever come down the future board where another member might have issues with Mondays, and then it switches back. So, it's just the consistency, and again, we thought moving the meetings here would bring more people, and it still doesn't bring more people. So that's just my take. I mean, when I ran for the board, I knew the meetings were on Tuesday night, So I made sure that if I wasn't gonna be able to make it, I didn't come or I missed the events.
The
So-
Monday switch wouldn't happen until January.
Right, I'm just
No, it would
offering
start
my
right away.
2
Or it would
cents.
start right away.
Which I
start.
don't even recall that being part of the discussion, because we approved the school calendar for next year, so why would we be changing this now? If anything, it should be changing for the next board.
Right, well, the only reason I would, it's up to you guys to decide how you wanna do it.
That was my understanding as Jessica, that it wouldn't start until after the April or January meeting.
The
when
way
it was.
I
Yeah,
understand,
it's
and that, maybe
already
that's
set.
my fault, because I thought we were
Yeah,
gonna
yeah,
set
yeah.
it when we set the new board calendar, which the board sets the calendar in July, and the board calendar starts in September. Dates, but you guys can decide when you wanna start it, this year, next year, 2 years from now, it's entirely up to you how you wanna do it.
And my understanding, I'm sorry I didn't relay, is that it would start after the April elections. So people would know that you're gonna
Yep.
be, existing people would have to make a decision. And
Because we set those dates right after the reorg, right? Or no, it was right
No,
before. It
we
was
set them,
before.
we set them early in
It was
July,
earlier than
but it
that,
would
yeah.
be for after
Yeah.
the April elections.
Yep.
Just a discussion. Diane, does that fit your need a little better if it's in April, after April?
Oh, yeah, that's fine, I'm just
Yeah.
offering,
I get it.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't agree with it and support it, just because it's always been the third Tuesday, it's the consistency piece. And if you're gonna say that it's because an opportunity to have more administrators here, but then why is there still the same number here now?
I mean,
It's not
a
summer.
school
Yeah,
event
summer.
in June.
Well,
I would argue there's no school events on the 16th of June.
well, my point is that, yes, there's no events, but yet you got the same number of people here, there should be more here than theoretically, if that's what you're saying, that there's a conflict.
Well,
Just a
there's
general.
been times when there's been way less sitting here as well, right? Like I haven't, no offense Kelly, but I haven't seen Kelly since last summer. So
Right.
that would be my counterpoint to
And if you
that.
look at other school boards, Stratford goes on Wednesday, Marathon goes on Wednesday, DC Evers goes on Wednesday, Wausau goes on Mondays. So I think we might be the only board that went on Tuesday. And one more thing, I can't get to some of the township meetings
Yeah.
because they are on Tuesdays. You can't, other governments kind of go on
Some are on Monday.
Tuesdays. What?
Mosinee are on Monday.
Some on Mondays, yeah, but they're the second Monday of the month, not the third.
Point being, there's always a conflict.
There can be, you're right. I'm just, to Dave's point, we're trying to reduce the conflicts. Just a discussion. Somebody will have to make a motion, whenever it comes up, and if they can always vote it down. Okay? All right, thank you. Item F, a plan to incorporate strategic plan, family survey, and staff survey results.
I was asked to put this on the agenda, so I was asked to put this on the agenda.
I'm one of the people that asked them to put it on there, so Greg, I like to come back as a look at those results, have some action plans, just like every school district, because, some of them were staff, community related,
Yep.
that maybe we need to, I found some themes in the surveys we filled out, that transparency, communication, trust was humongous.
Yeah.
And I just think that we need to take some action steps to address some of those things.
Right, I think as an admin team and guys over there, correct me if I'm wrong, but early August, the buildings are gonna come together and redo their plans that you saw tonight, which will be, based on the strategic plan is where it's gonna be, the pillars of the strategic plan are going to be that. And then with their building leadership teams, so each building will meet with their respective building leadership teams, and Tom and I will bounce between the different groups, the three groups. And then, administration has a date coming up not too long, if not the next day, and within the next week, where we will then look at each buildings and then develop some across the district based on where they are, where we wanna go, where we would recommend we go based on the data that you're referencing here. So I'm just saying, we will have something ready for you in August.
And my big thing is, if we're not constantly looking at our culture about those things, about transparency, honesty, communication, then we're not gonna get better, and I think we need to do that. We need to build better relationships with everybody in our schools, and parents, students, staff, administrators, school board members, and we need to take some action steps.
Well, and I think I was thinking about this, I don't know, last couple of days when I couldn't sleep, and I haven't even had a chance to talk to you about it, Christie, yet, but, so I'm gonna put you on the spot. We talked last Thursday night about how to get parents more involved in some of the things like how to use securely, and to be quite honest with you, you don't get parents at meetings when you host them in the building, especially if it's a one night. You have a better chance of getting them if it's on the night of open house or parent-teacher conferences, but quite frankly, you're not gonna have a great number either. So what I was thinking we could do is very similar to what Kate did with her presentation here, is we could tape something and then send it out to all the parents, so that way we can at least say you had the chance to see it. If you chose not to watch a 15 or 20-minute video, I can lead a horse to water, but I can't force their head in the water. So we at least can say we gave you an opportunity to learn. We can also offer in-person ones, but then also, because the other reality too is you know, we also have to understand we're a manufacturing community, and some people are working shifts that are at 6 o'clock at night, 7 o'clock at night, you know, and they can't come to parent-teacher conferences from 4 to 7 because they're working. So, you know, or farmers.
I personally think trying to get involved with the community more is something that would really help everything go smoother.
Yep, so I just think we should, one of the things that I would highly think we need to look at administratively is how to leverage the technology better that we have and get it out to families in a technology-based way, so they have the chance to watch it on their own time.
And maybe rather than a 15 or 20, do a couple series of shorter, you know, a couple, 2-3 minutes.
You could almost do a podcast.
Yeah, like
Well,
a series,
parents
yeah.
could even make appointments, but, you know, we've heard from parents that some of them are struggling with the math curriculum, and we've gotta address that.
Right,
We've gotta look
and
at
that's,
that and find out the
that's a completely different conversation, I think, than this, and that, you know, I mean, I have my own thoughts on that, I've had thoughts on that for going on 15 years now. But what I would say is, I think, in light of what I said, what we were talking about, I think we need to leverage the technology that we have available to us, whether that be similar to what you saw, Kate, you sent it out to parents via Sky Alert or whatever it is that we're using now, and put it on the website, put it on social media or whatever. So parents have ample different avenues with which to see the content that does it. Because some people don't want to come in person because they don't want to feel like they're stupid, or they're afraid of the school because they didn't have great experiences here, so they don't really want, I mean, I get it. I wish it wasn't true, but it's reality, so.
But some people will come in.
Correct.
And that's probably better than, social media.
Right, what I'm saying is I think we need to deliver it in multiple
Yeah,
platforms.
I agree.
Not just a one size fits all. I mean, because
Right.
not everybody's gonna come in, but at least if we put it out there, then everybody will get, you know, nobody can say they didn't have a chance.
Right.
We gave it to you, To receive information, you have to also be willing to receive.
Any more discussion? Okay, item G, discussion possible decision, board policy revisions, June 2026 special update.
These are a handful of updates. I already referred to a little bit of them, that the Act 89 information was in here that related to board member, it says board member behavior, communications, code of conduct. That's for everybody. Everybody has the code of conduct that they have to update, student supervision and welfare. You also see a bunch of them in here on non-discrimination, equal employment, and employee anti-harassment. That says Brian's leaving. I had to name a new compliance officer, so I had to switch names. So that's just a simplistic thing, but I have to get your blessing to allow me to just switch names on there. And Tom drew the short straw, and is gonna become the compliance officer with Christie. I offered him to be the decision maker and I'd be the compliance officer, and he turned me down and said he'd rather be the compliance officer than the decision maker. So that's that. 7510 is a community use of district facilities, and I talked about this briefly in the facilities committee meeting when I was over there. What we're recommending there, and it's a conversation Rod and I have had, is we're recommending that we pull the fee structure out of the policy and put language in that simply states policy or fee structure as set by the board. I don't remember the exact language I have in there. And then that allows the board annually to set that fee structure, and then it doesn't require readings of to go through the policy and change, and then it has to go to Neola to get updated, and there's just a process, and it allows us to fluctuate and move quicker with it.
We need to look at the fees for the auditorium, I found out that there's like a minimum $1,000 fee now. And that was done by our last business manager, and we need to really look at that.
I wanna say,
Well,
Christie,
we voted on that too, though, I think.
Yeah, I know we did,
Yeah.
but I
So-
don't think we were aware that there was going to be, no matter who uses it, $1,000 fee.
That's only outside the community.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
And for profit.
Yeah.
If they're inside.
We had an alumnus come and do a book opening and was charged $1,700 for 2 hours of using the auditorium. She wasn't really doing it to make, yeah, she sold some books in the lobby and stuff like that, but it was an automatic fee that couldn't be waived. And I just felt that was,
Sure.
and she donated her time and came the entire day to the high school English department.
I think with policy, you wanna be careful trying to address one-offs, and there should be a comment in there that says administration has the
Yes.
discretion
Yeah.
to waive the fee, if so, or reduce or waive the fee. Because the more you put in there, then it becomes like, well, I fit here, no, you don't, well, I fit here, and then it just becomes this like throwing darts at a dartboard.
I agree.
But what I'm saying is with the policy, is that's what the purpose of that policy change is. And then I have another policy, 6152.01. This was recommended through our food service audit under waiver of school fees and fines, that we no longer have free and reduced lunch status as part of the prerequisites for that. The reason being is DPI and the feds and all the different entities that oversee food service require anybody that has access to free and reduced lunch status information has to go through a formal training. And so if you make it as part of that, then pretty much everybody then has to go through this formalized training to gain access to the data. So they recommend you eliminate that as a precursor in some cases to reduce the number of people that could have access to highly confidential information.
Any more discussion? I'll seek a motion.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Gorman to change the policies,
I'll second.
second by Nest. Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We have one opposition. Item H, discussion possible decision 2627, property and casualty, cyber, auto, worker and workman's comp, and liability insurance renewal with EMC.
Yeah, this is our annual renewal. It went up 5.1%, which theoretically is a relatively small percentage on property on this line of insurance in today's world. So it came in really well. The major increase was a result of workers' comp, and you have to understand the state sets the rates on workers' comp. So there's nothing we could do about it. The state set the rate. No matter what company we went to, the workers' comp would be the same. And then we will see our new building has not hit it yet because we haven't, the occupancy hasn't hit the insurance bill yet, or wasn't part of this renewal. So we're gonna see an increase because we added square footage and expensive square footage, I mean, by the square foot. So we're gonna see an increase on that result as well. And then we are talking about having a change to the cyber coverage. I'm not 100% positive what direction. But we are looking at one that might increase the cost of cyber $4,000 or $5,000, but it's gonna greatly increase our cyber protection in terms of the claim, just protecting us in terms of a cyber incident, whether that be ransomware or some other aspect. It's gonna provide us more coverage and better coverage, because what we have right now is could be a little limited. I mean, I'm comfortable with it, but in
What is
today's
the
world.
limit?
Oh, Rod, what is the 50,000 on the ransomware?
Yeah, for our current EMC.
Yes,
Jamal?
yes.
Yeah, it's like 50,000 an incident or something.
But, understand, typically, when they find out they have a school, they back off. That's been the typical.
Usually
So-
we use
so-
Ryan Turner, and then we always go to an ancillary, so we usually
Right.
use Beasley or CSC.
We're looking at Cowbell is the other one that we're looking at,
Yeah,
and
you
increasing
usually
it
take
to
it
$500,000 of cybersecurity, which would increase our coverage. What was it, about $5,000? I think it would go up based on what we're paying now and what the
Yeah.
new rate would be. But we're recommending approval of the EMC.
Any more discussion?
I have a question. So they're gonna put an endorsement in for once we get the new valuation
Yep.
of the building?
Yep.
And are you projecting, cause that's gonna be a big increase in your blanket building and your
Yep.
blanket personal property.
Yep.
Are you anticipating how big that jump's gonna be? Cause
They-
it should be,
Yeah, they haven't told us yet. Now, I don't know how big it's gonna be, cause it's just gonna increase the replacement value. So I don't think it's not gonna increase the full amount, because so much of it is in the renovated space as well, so they're just gonna go on a square footage cost, so I don't know how much it's gonna increase.
are
never
they
really
sending
give us-
someone out?
No, they're just doing they do it on a square footage basis. They just take your square footage and multiply it by square footage.
Did they,
cost.
offer you a deductible buy down for your 75,000 and 50,000? You're supposed to offer that on every policy. So if something were to happen, hail is usually the big one, or wind, instead of paying that 75 grand, you would pay like 5 grand, and it's really a cheap, usually the insurance company will offer you that for like very cheap.
I don't recall that conversation. Do you, Rod?
I'm not sure if I caught everything. You're saying,
Did they say, do you wanna do a deductible buy down policy, so instead
no,
of
they
having?
didn't bring that up, I guess. No,
They
not a
didn't?
deductible buy down. Our deductible for hail and wind is
75,000.
25,000.
75.
75.
75? I know it was higher than the other, so the regular deductible must be 25 then for, okay,
Yeah.
for anything else. I don't know what to say, our prior insurance had an increase for wind and hail damage also. It seems to be the new
Yeah, it's just,
insurance.
they put it
no,
on, this is the second year, they put it on all EMC, but the broker should have said, would you like to add this buy down, and it would take it down, it's a really cheap add-on
we can
coverage.
check with Barry, yeah.
And
How
it
much
would
savings
have
do you
taken it down to like, $5,000, and it's a really, it's just because if something were to knock you out,
Gotcha.
that adds up, and if you don't have an extra 75 grand, what are you gonna do?
Before we make a motion then, so for our cyber coverage, if we increase that, do we have like required trainings for all employees that have to go through? It's required as part of the insurance, we've reviewed that, made sure that that's all. Yep.
Especially if you fail the fishing.
Yeah.
Any more discussion?
Would I be able to get a copy of the policies and look at them?
Yeah.
I check EMC policies every single day. Let me see it.
I'll shoot it to her.
Yeah, cool, thanks.
What do you guys wanna do, motion or what?
Well, technically, we need to have a motion of some sort, because our policy goes out June 30th.
Yeah, you have.
If we don't, we're gonna be in trouble.
Right,
Yeah.
if we don't, we don't have insurance.
I will make a motion to renew the 2026-2027 property and casualty, cyber, auto, work comp, and liability insurance renewal with EMC, with direction to the administration team to review a deductible buy down, prior to signing on and determining whether that's something worth paying down to reduce our deductible.
I got a motion,
Second.
second by Stankowski. Any more discussion? Does everybody understand this buy down policy? Basically eliminates amount of money you might pay if something happens, correct?
Right.
It's an insurance policy on your insurance.
Yeah,
Policy.
it's like an add-on coverage
Right.
because they had so many losses on wind and hail, so they added huge amounts of, that deductible is gonna be 75,000 or 50,000, so you add it on.
And the motion is that they're gonna direct the administration, if they feel it's worth it, they're gonna do it. If they don't, they're not gonna do it.
Right.
Okay. I have a motion, I have a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
One, no. Item I, discussion possible decision 2627 WASB membership.
It's your annual WASB membership. I have the cost of the dues in there, so it's up to you. If you wanna re-up with WASB, I don't have an opinion on it, because it's your organization, not mine.
seek a motion.
I'll make a motion.
We have a motion by Zebro,
I'll second. Oh, go ahead.
No, you got it.
a second by Stankowski. Any discussion? It's hard not to join the Wisconsin Association of School Board when you're a school board. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item J, discussion possible decision, change from diligent to board books for the board meeting platform.
Yeah, I'm working with Diligent right now to see if we can get out. Our contract renews on July 1st, but we had to give them a 30-day notice, and we were inside the 30 days. So I'm seeing if they'll let us out, because Board Book just kind of stumbled upon us, as WASB just started endorsing Board Book within the last like 2 weeks, I would say. So we looked at Board Book, and it's cheaper, and feel it's very similar to Diligent, which is our online meeting platform, but it's cheaper. What I will tell you is if, and to get it more convoluted, Neola also recently announced that they're leaving Board Docs, which was bought out by Diligent, for their policies and creating their own internal policy housing database. And then they're looking at developing a meeting platform from there. In the next year, they'll have information on that. So I guess my comment is if we make the decision, if the board says if we can get out of it, let's go to Board Books, then we'll go to Board Books. If the board says, or if the board says no, or Diligent says we won't let you out, then next year we'll probably look at Board Books and Neola's and Diligent. So it's all convoluted. This all kind of came, and it's changed even since we had the board packet ready, so it kind of stayed on here, even though I was hoping to have more information tonight, but I don't.
How hard is it to change?
Not hard.
Not hard.
No, there'll be a little noticeable change for the people that are on it, like you guys, but I would equate it to like, there's a little bit of difference from Microsoft Word to Google Docs, but once you figure out where the buttons are, the wording looks the same, you just gotta figure out what button to pick. It's the same. The bigger change will be on Jackie and I, because we're the ones that do all the work behind the scenes to get the board packet ready.
And it's $2,000 cheaper.
Right, so it's ultimately not a big change for you, it'll just be a matter of the buttons might look different and you might have to click a different spot, but,
And all the information, I'm just thinking like migrating.
They'll
prior
migrate,
meeting.
they'll migrate 1 year of information, which we've only been on this for about 18 months anyway.
Okay, that was the only thing, is
Yeah.
I don't wanna go back and have to look through 6 different
No,
platforms.
they'll migrate
Meetings to
1 year,
find.
correct?
Yep.
As part of the transition.
Yep, okay.
Any more discussion? I'll seek a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the change from Diligent to Board Book for board meeting platforms.
We have a motion by Nessa,
I'll second.
second by Stankowski. Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And I'll keep you updated as I learn more over the next 2 weeks. So look forward in your weekly update. Once I learn more, I will 100% pass it on to you when I know about it.
Item K, discussion policy 0152. It's the reorganization of election of officers. Joe, you request to have this on, so I'll let you talk.
Well, this goes back to our reorg meeting, which happens every year, first one for me to go through. And after the presidents were both nominated, candidates were not nominated, I raised my hand and asked if there was time for us to talk about the candidates, and I was told no. And I don't understand why some debate over the candidates isn't a good idea, and I think provides for a better, more robust choice of a president. And so I was referred to this policy, and as I read through that policy, it doesn't say anywhere in there that you can't debate it. But if we need to put some wording in there to clarify that it is allowed.
Diane, I don't think it's ever been done, correct?
Not for the number of years that I've been on the board? No.
I've been coming to board meetings for 37 years and it's never been done. That's why I made the decision to do it. But if you want in the policy, you'd have to put in that there's debate before each vote with candidates, and that would have to be the change. It would have to be on a policy approved every 2 months in a row.
What would be wrong with a vote debate if you had two candidates and?
One of our policies in our board talks about not making this a partisan political thing, and when you start talking about things, it starts becoming political and partisan. And that's why it's never been done before.
Who's to say that it's gonna be political? It's just
Yeah,
saying
I don't
who
understand
may be
why.
I
better
think
qualified,
what's
or
a-
better
discussion
knowledge.
has to be-
What's a debate? A debate generally is about political issues, about
No.
things.
It can be about anything.
I don't, if you wanna make, I don't think you can do it now, but next month, if you wanna make a change of this policy, put it back in the agenda, and you can add that there will be a debate before the officers, and if it's a second, then it'll come to a vote and everybody will vote.
Is there a way to check with Neola if there's any policies out there that reflect anything?
What was that, Diane?
Checking with Neola if there's anything in any other policy, or even WASB for that matter. I mean, we're paying a fee.
Greg, in your other school district, did you do this? Did you have debates about officers?
No, but I will say with the caveat that there, everything was one candidate, and it was a
Okay.
No.
So there was.
I'll take a motion to close ballots and close nominations and cast a unanimous ballot for, fill in the blank for, fill in the blank, so, cause everybody, the president's been the president for like 30 years, like, they don't change. It's the same people, pretty much my entire tenure.
So what do we gotta do to move this,
So we'll put it on the agenda with the change in the,
where we drop it?
I
mean, is that what you wanna do, Paul, or?
if, the thing
Because
I'm
it's
worried
never been
about,
done.
and have been worried in the past, is that people will get this to be personal, and they'll get this to be political, and I know it can or cannot be,
Anything in here can be that way.
it can be, but I think we've done a really good job of not doing that and accepting viewpoints of people, and differences, and I just, if,
Wouldn't we be able to do it here then?
if you
What
wanna.
would you plan on debating? Like,
What's
is
that?
there something you would wanna debate on that, is there something in our meetings that you're not getting? Like, have you gone to Paul and said, hey, I'd like an agenda item added, and he said no? I'm just curious, like, what are we debating?
That would
we're
be the
bringing
question
in?
I would have.
Well,
Like, I get what you're
like,
saying,
what
Joe,
are we-
right, like, I
Part of-
understand.
part
Right,
of
what
it is-
obstacle do we
part of
have
it,
that you would have
I would
wanted
say
to know?
Derek is giving someone else a chance to be president.
I would say, when you come in as a new board member, maybe it is a little challenging having these meetings. I don't know the best way to.
As a new board member, you may not know people, and so when people sit and talk about themselves, saying, here's what I've done, here's my background, this is my knowledge base, that absolutely is instrumental in somebody making an informed decision on who may be best to lead the board.
See, I don't disagree with that, but that's not what you told me. You wanted to have a debate, like, you wanted to
discussion,
have
if you
somebody,
wanna call it
like,
a
I would
debate.
talk about Calandra, even though I'm not running against her, I would say Calandra was running for president, whatever, and I just don't want that to become
Debate may be
personal.
the wrong
So like with maybe
word.
what I'm hearing from you, Jessica, and I apologize if I paraphrase this wrong, and I don't mean to put any words in your mouth. But say I was running for whatever, and I would say, yeah, I'm Dave Bauer, I've done A, B, C, and D, and this is why I think I would be
Yeah,
good
that's
to be
part of it.
president, or do you
That would
guys
be part of
envision
it.
like Diane and I are running against each other for whatever, just cause she's sitting next to me? And so the two of us sit here and then everybody talks about how Dave's great, or Diane's great, or Dave's not. I don't know if I see merit to that. I could see a merit to saying why.
Letting the candidate.
Your opinion on why you think you would be the person for that
Or maybe
position.
even the person that's going to, would like to nominate a person, say, these are my thoughts, this is why I wanna nominate this person.
Yeah, and I think those could be very positive.
Yep, did we do that? So when we first came
Yeah,
on,
we
we
did.
did a roundtable introduction on who we were, was that before or after the nomination?
I recall doing it, I don't recall the timing.
I don't remember
So-
when it
so
came
what-
up, but I thought it was super helpful too, I
So-
like the.
so.
Not
But we
trying to
didn't have
squash
anybody new this year, so-
conversation, but if I were to summarize what I'm hearing, is there is an openness to adding to the policy language about prior to any vote for the positions, there is a discussion about the merits of each candidate? Or do you want it to be each candidate will outline their qualifications for the
That
position?
sounds better.
I think even just providing an opportunity for anybody, every time we have a new board or a reorg, everybody goes around and if you can
that
speak
would
as much
be-
as you
that
want
would be-
to, it's not a debate, nobody's
And
been
I think
nominated,
you-
it's, hey, everybody's getting to know each other, we talk
I
about
would
what our
just-
merits
I would
are.
highly recommend we keep the word debate out of it.
Yeah.
Now,
Right.
I'm telling you, this is your policies,
No offense to you,
I'm
but
just trying to guide you.
That's what you
I
told
think.
me, and I wanna not
So-
do that.
Yep.
Well, I don't remember the exact
Okay.
words I
Yep, but yeah, like, so Joe, to be fair, cause you were not on the original reorg meeting when Joe, Dave and I came on, cause we were new board members, and Jessica proposed, hey, we should just go around and tell us each other what our backgrounds are, and that gave us a good idea. I had watched a lot of board meetings ahead of time, so I kinda had a decent idea of how people operated and things like that, but.
And that could be in the policy.
I think that's a
That
great,
could be in
I
the policy
I
also.
liked it, I thought it was good, I thought it gave everybody an opportunity to kind of just introduce themselves, say what their backgrounds are, why they're here, what they
Is it
stand
okay
for.
to
and-
Does
direct?
our current policy, it doesn't
There is
explicitly
no-
say that you can't.
It doesn't
have a
say that you
discussion.
can't, it can be, you can do one of two things, I guess.
I just think
To
it's
your
separate
point,
from the
Calandra,
election of the
you can do
office.
one of two things. You can either put it in policy, or you can just make it part of your standard operating procedures.
Yeah.
And the reason we didn't do it because it's never been part of our standing operating procedures.
It is
I
a
don't know.
bit redundant though, because when you do I mean, like, let's say this year, I would essentially be regurgitating what I already put in WASA pilot and review, what I already put in, the Mosinee Times, like, they ask you those questions. So there is, I guess, a redundancy to it, but I would be fine with it.
That doesn't mean everybody reads that, and that doesn't, I mean, why would that just necessarily be your regurgitated response? I mean, if it's an impromptu question or something like that,
But it's a question, or are we just
So we're gonna ask each
introducing
other
ourselves?
questions?
maybe, somebody may ask somebody about their background, like, oh, tell me more about this or that you just brought up, that you said you had 10 years of experience about. Yeah, I may want to know more about that.
Mhm. But again, that's more of an open discussion, it's
Yeah,
not really
that's-
part of the election of an officer.
Yeah.
Why would it be? I mean, if you're talking about finance, I wanna know more about your financial background. What makes you qualified to be a treasurer? That's what I would want to know. So I don't know what industries you've all worked in. Has it always been private? Has some of it been public? Those are qualifications that I would want to know about.
How about we let Greg come back with some information, and next month we can go and possibly make a decision. Let people regurgitate that a little bit, okay? All right, item L, that was another discussion, policy 0155. It was the selection of committees at the reorg meeting. Currently, the policy says the president will select committees. Joe, you brought this up, and go ahead, I'll let you speak again.
Well, again, I'm not saying not let the president select, but after some, again, research on who wants to be on committees, for example, I was told you didn't know I wanted to be on the curriculum committee. That may be true, but, to me, there should be a formal way of understanding who all on the board wants to be on what particular committees.
Past practice, again, Diane, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think we've ever had that discussion, have we?
Well, we've done it a couple different ways.
Okay.
There have been times, like, when the board president might say, okay, this was the past committee members of such and such of the personnel. Would you like to remain on the personnel, or would you like to try a different committee? We've done that, and we've done it where they have just been appointed. And if somebody, I have not, anybody would maybe bring up a conflict, why they might not wanna be on a committee. Otherwise, again, it's been two different ways that I've seen since I've been on the board.
I'm very open to having a discussion about board members and committees before the president, whoever the president is, just to get some input. I have no issue with that. And the reason is you could say, I have a financial background, and I can go there.
My question to you, Diane, as a veteran of the group, has the board always or has the president always announced at the night of the reorganization committee assignments, or has that had come?
Yeah, I don't
Yes,
understand why.
they-
It's always been, okay.
Yes.
'Cause
It's always that way.
when people ask me my experiences, my experience is at that reorg meeting, the list of the current year committees were there, and then the president, after being elected president, now, like I said, it's the same guy for 30 years, so I don't know why we did it that way. But, the president would say, here's the committees, if you wanna change committees or your committee preferences, email me, and then I will bring the final list forward to the next board meeting. for
Right, like I said, it's been done both ways.
But
The night of the
that's-
reorg is usually when, and if you're not there, guess what?
Yeah,
You're ended up on a
and
committee.
I'm not saying that's the way we have to do it,
Right.
I'm just giving you the way I've seen it.
I
done
think
differently.
that's a great
Well,
thing,
the
Yes.
policy does not say that you have to do it that night,
but
right?
It does,
it
I don't
does
know if
say-
it does or not.
It does say it that night, yeah.
It says as soon as the annual reorganization meeting is practical, as soon after the annual.
Oh, yeah, I mean, if you read it that way.
Yeah,
If you read it that way.
So,
I
Is
don't
there
understand
anything
why
wrong
we're
with
running into it without a little input.
before the meeting, you know, if you're like, hey, I guess you can't
I think
do it
that-
before the meeting, 'cause we don't
you
know
know,
who's
the
the
president-
I'd say you don't know
Yeah.
who's-
No, but I think after
Joe.
the officers are elected,
Yeah.
then I think having a discussion about going
Yeah.
around the room
And
saying.
maybe not everyone can
Like Dave might
get
say,
there, which granted, but.
might say, my wife's a teacher, I can't
Yeah.
be on the
Yeah, I'll be honest,
personnel.
my personal favorite, I'd like to be on the personnel committee, as long as I'm on the board, I will never be, because
Yeah,
there's just no chance,
But
right?
I think that's a good thing, I think.
It's just it's what my strengths are, right, but it's
Yeah.
just not, it's not reality. Are you saying, Joel, like, not changing that the president appoints them, but
No,
just
I didn't
gauging
say
an
that.
interest of
Yeah.
what a board member would like
For
to
example,
serve on? I support that.
Even
Yeah.
the
Not
that
president
we're
of the
deciding
United
tonight,
States
but
has
like,
to get his
And that could
appointees
come-
something approved.
That can come back just like we did with the last one, a policy change. I try to be a stickler with the policy, and just because it doesn't say that you can't do it in there, doesn't mean you can do it.
Yeah.
I mean,
And again,
I
we should-
wanted to be on personnel every year, and I think it took 3 years, but it was valuable for me though to go and see what finance was like, and it's valuable to go to this committee, and it's valuable to go to this
Sure.
committee, because you're kind of learning, especially when it's your first 3, you're learning different aspects that you wouldn't have been privy to had you not been in that meeting.
I understand that, Megan, but I had only been on that committee for 8 months, and I was a new guy. Really, the first couple months, I hadn't really done a lot to participate, but I had gotten a passion for it, and I wanted to remain on it because I thought I could do a lot of good for it.
Yeah,
So-
but you
so,
could also
yeah.
find that in other ones too. I'm just saying there's value to each room, and it's unique to see
No, I
from
had
the
passion
different.
for curriculum.
I'll jump in and provide some,
Perspectives.
I'll provide a recommendation.
Thank you.
Okay? Take it or leave it. Tell me to go fly a kite, that's your route, all right? My recommendation would be both of these ideas, whether that be a conversation, a go around the room and talk about the candidates or each person's experience and capabilities before a vote or at the beginning of a meeting around an officer position is valid. Conversation or recommendation after the president's selected, when we get to the committee level assignments on the reorg meeting, about everybody's preference to be on a committee is valuable. I think everybody should come to that meeting with where you wanna be on a committee.
Yeah.
Order it at 1, 2, 3, whatever, and go from there. Neither thing theoretically needs to be changed in a policy. It's all standard operating procedure, as long as the board takes that as how they want to operate the board meeting. Because like you said, Joe, it's not articulated in policy, but in the absence of
Neither one.
policy, everybody goes back to past practice,
Yeah.
and past practice has been different. So if you wanna change past practice, then you change to a new practice, but it doesn't have to go in a policy. It can just be part of your standard operating procedures. So
Well,
can we just do
and
that?
you don't
You can
have
do
to-
that.
Yeah.
Do that.
What
That was actually the question I was gonna ask Greg before you said that, is does this need to be a policy? It doesn't say
No.
we can't, so we can, right?
The more specific you are, the more you're pigeonholing yourself into a policy.
Right.
But I think what Joe was trying to say is, he was told, that can't happen, it's in policy, but it's not in policy.
Yeah.
So Leadership 101 is making an informed decision, so you have to help everybody have the knowledge base to make that informed decision.
And my reason for saying that wasn't past practice and it's not in the policy. So if we're gonna change the past practice, we can, these two discussions are saying, hey, at the next reorg meeting, our past practice is going to change. And I don't think I should do that. I think this is something the board, that's why it came up for discussion.
I mean, technically, we could get rid of all the committees, couldn't we?
Yeah,
And
that's
do it
that's a
one?
policy. What I'm hearing is there's an open interest to have this become part of your practice, your
Yes.
guideline for how you do this. My recommendation to you would be don't put it in policy, but make it part of your standard operating procedure. And although 3 of you are up for reelection next year, 6 of you will still be here theoretically.
We have practice.
So you'll be able to come back to this conversation and say, no, here's how we want to do it. My recommendation on top of that, and then I'll let you, I'm sorry, Joe, is then I would say, I put it on the September agenda to, or not September, the April agenda for us to review this conversation before we go into the reorg meeting the following Monday.
Do you
So
expect
this-
us to remember what we talked about?
No, the 6 people, it'll be in the minutes, but the 6 people, because there may be 3 new people on the board, can say, nope, past practice, we agreed, we're gonna do this now.
I'll not tell you what to do. My recommendation is don't put it in policy. I'll add it to my notes to put it on the April regular board agenda to review this conversation so we know going into the reorg meeting, how the reorg meeting is gonna operate.
Thank you.
Okay,
Is that fair?
is everybody good? You okay, Joe?
Fine with me.
That's just
Good.
common sense.
Yeah.
Common?
Okay, awesome.
Can I make one more comment?
Yeah, go ahead.
Always hearing this comment that that's the way we've always done it.
It's called past practice.
I know. I'm not a real fan of that all the time.
I get it.
Sometimes, yeah, I understand,
I get it. But just remember, Joe, you're just one member.
I know.
It has to be agreed upon by 9 members, or at least 5. Okay? All right, item 12, administrative reports. Anything? Anybody want to talk?
I've talked to them.
Okay, item 13, other reports, the WASB report, item A.
I don't know of anything coming up.
Is it one in July?
We have the summer thing coming up, correct?
Yeah, is it
Yeah,
Green Bay?
July.
Oh, that's in July,
Yeah,
yes.
July.
Correct.
If anyone
What was
wants
the
to go,
date
we
point?
should get registered relatively soon.
I believe that.
Okay? Anybody remember summer thing, July? If you want to go, get registered. 13B, CISA 9 report.
Okay, CISA 9, they approved their salary wage increase, which was 2.7 for all employees. DC Everest was recognized for their help with the Ringo tornado situation. And the CISA 9's Excellence in Teaching program is on their annual review of approval from DPI coming up. So, and June, we had our Board of Control dinner.
Okay, thank you very much. Item 14, future agenda items.
Do you need me to read them?
Nope.
There they are.
Thank you.
That's what I'm putting on the agenda for next month, starting tomorrow.
Perfect.
And just so you know, I have never denied anybody to put something on the agenda. Okay? Unless it was illegal. Then we're not doing it.
I will agree with that, Paul.
Okay, item 15, I need a motion to move into closed executive session. It's a roll call vote, right?
Yep.
I will
Roll call.
Second.